Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Who's Business Show. Today's episode it was inspired by the great Future Hendrix. You may be familiar with him, you may not be, but I'd like to share a quote that he once said. He once said the words, "Dress it up and make it real for me," whatever that means. So, today I want to apply that to your business. And, some of y'all are probably like, what does future have to do with my business? And, you know, it's not really him per se, it's more of the words. I'm gonna explain why at the end. So come come with me. So we're gonna start off when it comes to your business, we want to make sure it's legit. So I know a lot of people we have hobbies, people like to create things, people like to build things, people have skills where they want to share that knowledge and they're like, you know what, like I can make a business of this. And you know what? I want to say to those people, absolutely right. Congratulations. But we got to set up the business properly. So, what I mean by make your business legit, you need to establish an entity for your business. You can't just go say, "Hey, I'm gonna just start selling these things and just keeping all the money." Sounds good in theory, most people want to do that, but unfortunately, you have to pay to play. So, when it comes to setting up an entity, the very least that you should do is be set up as a sole proprietor. So with the sole proprietorship, you're you're just doing business as yourself, but it's still looked at as an entity by like the government. They see that as a business structure, a sole proprietor. Me personally, I don't really like that model because like I said, you're doing business as yourself. So, I mean, it's much cheaper between, setting up a sole proprietorship or setting up an LLC or setting up a corporation, but cheap is not always the way. So that's why personally, I would recommend to people that you set up an LLC. The reason why is, well, to clear something up, a lot of people might think that having an LLC means that you have all these tax advantages and benefits. It's it Having an LLC has nothing to do with taxes. It's more about the legal protection. And that's why I prefer it. So, me personally, you could say I work in the financial services industry and I deal with sensitive information like people's social security numbers. So, let's say I had a customer and like things went left and they wanted to file a lawsuit against me, you know. So what would happen is because I have an LLC set up, that separates me from the business. I'm a person and in the eyes of the government, an LLC is also its own separate person. I'm not gonna go down the rabbit hole of that with you. You guys can just look up the legal definition of a person and then connect the dots there. But so yeah, so my business would be separate. So let's say, this person, old client, they file a lawsuit against me and let's say they win, right? Let's say my business has like, you know, $10,000 in it and they're suing me for $10,000. Like, okay, like you get that. My business, I lost a lawsuit, you take the money, okay, everything's all right now. But the thing is, that wasn't my money from my personal account. That was the business's money. That's what I mean by like you get that separation because I'm not affected at all. It's just the businesses. So let's say you were a sole proprietor, right? So you're just doing business as yourself. So there's no protection or separation. So let's say the name of my business is Credit Repair with Chris, right? So I'm Chris, but as a sole proprietor, you're doing business as yourself. So I'd be Chris doing business as Credit Repair with Chris. So it's all would be considered one person. But like with the LLC, like it would be two separate people. So it just keeps gives you that extra layer of protection. That's all. So that's how we would start by making our business look legit because we're setting up an entity. Like I said, the very bare minimum, do a sole proprietorship. It's the cheapest one until you start building up some money and then go pay and set up an LLC. But for your industry, who knows? Like maybe you won't really need one, but for me, like I said, I work with sensitive information, so it's better for me to have that legal separation. But you might not need it, just obviously look into your industry, see what works best. But next, we got to talk about having a business bank account. The first thing I want to say with that is stop commingling funds. You might be like, what does that mean? Commingling. Well, what that means is basically you have, let's say you're doing business and you have your personal bank account and you're getting paid from people, that are, you're doing your business, they're paying you for, let's say, a product, and you're just throwing the business money into your personal bank account. That's enough. We gotta separate that stuff because once you're doing that, it's all together. So now it's like you're paying for business stuff with personal money, or you're using business money for personal expenses, and it's just not looking right. The government is not a fan. And again, for there are legal repercussions, you know, there can be the legal situations that come along with that. So again, let's say there is a lawsuit and let's say you don't have a business bank account. You're doing everything out of your personal account. So let's say there's a lawsuit and they have an attorney, and their attorney, they're like, hey, like I want to see, you know, their bank statements for their business. If you tell them like, oh, I don't have a business bank account, I just have mine, they're going to be like, oh, well, what happens there is they can pierce the corporate veil, which means because you don't have it separated, now your personal assets are can be at risk, because there's no separation. You're not really doing business properly. So let's say, you're getting sued for 10,000. Your your business might not have $10,000. You just get started. You might maybe have a couple hundred in there. And then it's like, okay, so now that everything got separated, they may look and see like, okay, well, what can we get here? Because you don't have anything separated. So then they might start looking like, oh, well, we can actually sue for this too. So we can get even more money. So now they're starting to take from your personal assets, and you don't want that. So that's why it's very important to have a business bank account. And like, it's honestly, it's not a lot of work. It's really not. You just open a separate account for your business, and literally all your business money goes there. Don't get me wrong, you can still pay yourself. And I feel like that might be why some people don't, because they're like, oh, like I gotta get paid too. Honestly, like what I'm gonna like say for people that just starting out, like you should probably go like 50-50 with your business money. What I mean by that is like, okay, like it should all get deposited into a business bank account. But I think in the beginning stages, if you want, you should go maybe 50% of your money stays in like the business bank account for like whatever bills your business has, stuff like that, emergencies happen. And then you can pay yourself 50% of the money. Do I do I do that? No, no, I don't. My percentages are different. I don't pay myself 50%. But for people starting out, just to kind of like develop the habit of doing it, I would say those aren't bad numbers. Eventually, you would probably want more to go towards your business bank account because you should probably want to take the money you're making to reinvest into your business, so maybe get like better equipment, better resources, things of that nature. But that the importance of the business bank account is just to really just keep things separated, because you don't want to mix your personal life and your business life, because when things happen, if there's no separation, then it's going to hurt you personally, and you don't want that. Let the business take the hit on whatever it has to, if it ever comes to that, and just start fresh right after. But now that we have those two important things, I think those are two of the most important. But now we're going to talk about some more things. And I just want you to know that these are recommendations. Like, you don't need these things per se. Like, I'm not going to say you need to, because at the end of the day, your business is your business. But I just recommend it from my personal experience, from other people I know that have businesses. So, yeah, let's get into it. So, we're going to talk about what's your.com. So, that's simple enough. Basically, you know, what is your business website? What is your business email address? So, to start, you need to get a domain. And some people might not know, like, what's a domain? So, a domain basically, look at it as like your land. Like, all right, this is my plot of land. I'm building whatever I want on this land because I own this land. That's the domain. So, for example, let's say you get a domain and your domain is, let's say you sell sneakers and your domain is OG Kicks. It's kind of corny, but like for the example. So let's say that's your domain, OG Kicks, right? Now, when it comes to your email address, you gotta stop using Gmail or Yahoo for business purposes. Like, we all have email addresses that we made when we were like, younger or whatever, and we just use that. But like for business, we gotta get a new one and clean it up. Cause like some people, when it comes to business, you can't be like, oh, what's your email? And you say, oh, my email is realbaddie93@yahoo.com, or my email is stacksondeck420@gmail.com. Like, it's just not professional, honestly. So when it comes to getting your business email address, I recommend using Google Workspace. And because you can buy your domain there very cheap, $6 for the year, and also you can get your business email address there. So remember when I said you need a domain? Your domain, you got it. You sell sneakers, OG Kicks, right? So now for the email address, you can do something like support at your business name. Your business name is your domain. So support at ogkicks.com or info at ogkicks.com, right? It just looks way more professional, because think about it like this. Like, when you have a problem with your iPhone, because most people have iPhones, when you're emailing Apple, right? You're not sending an email to apple at gmail.com. Or if Amazon messed up with one of your packages, like, let's say you got to go through like an email, you're not sending an email to Amazon at yahoo.com. No, you're sending an email probably to support at apple.com, or dispute at amazon.com. Why? Because they own their website. That's their land, Amazon or Apple. So why not do the same thing with your business? That's the importance of using a professional email address and getting a domain. It's like, once you get the domain, like, you own that forever. I mean, granted, like, yeah, like you do pay a fee to keep it, but it's not a huge fee at all. And then also too, with the business email address, like, same thing. You pay a fee, but it's it's very it's very affordable. I mean, there's different plans. Like I said, I recommend Google Workspace. There's different plans, very cheap. Like a basic plan at, like, I believe $6. Then you have the next plan, like a standard plan. like $12, and then a plus plan for about $18 to $20. But there will be a link for Google Workspace with also a nice little discount for you guys too. But next, since we've covered your business email address, now we got to talk about your business phone number. So you need an actual phone number, not just, like some people, they might think like, oh, like I'll get another phone, like whatever, I'll get another cell phone and that'll be my business phone. But that's cool. But if it's just like a local number, it's still not a business number, even though you might say, oh, I'm going to use this for business use. So, what I recommend, and what most businesses, you get an 800 number, which is a toll free number. Because again, love using my Apple and Amazon examples. When you call them, I'm just going to use 508 because that's the area I live in and that's the area code. When you call Apple or Amazon, it's not a 508 number. It's not a 774 number. It's a 800 number. It could be like 877, 855, 833. That's an 800 number. So that's something I recommend for most businesses to use. So what I use for my toll-free number is phone.com. Uh, how it works is that when you receive phone calls, like for your business number, the phone call just gets forwarded right to your phone. So you don't even have to get like a second cell phone or anything like that. It'll just forward the call and you can just answer it right there on your phone. So you can keep your personal life and business life separate because if you have clients, like you might not want your clients to have your personal number, you know? Like you might not, even though it's like, oh, but they're still calling my phone either way. It's like, yeah, but the thing is, it's a business line. And what I like about it too is that you can set it up so you only receive calls during a certain time frame. So let's say your business hours are 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So after that, once 4 p.m. hits and businesses close that day, they can call, but you're not gonna get the call like to your phone. Like it'll just go straight to the voicemail. If you set up a voicemail, but it'll just go straight to the voicemail. I mean, you can check it like, going on your phone app and like you'll see it, but what I'm saying is like they won't be able to call you. So it kind of gives you that basically like a do not disturb. But it gives you just that, that separation of, hey, these are the business hours, basically only call me during that time. But the important thing about it is just have a toll-free number because it just looks more professional. But again, you don't have to. But when you look at these bigger companies, because I say, like one day we're all gonna be like the Apples and Amazons of our industries. So why not look at these companies now, these trillion-dollar companies, look at these trillion-dollar companies and follow their lead, basically. Next is the business address. So with your business address, right? One thing we got to stop doing when we make businesses is you got to stop using our home address. Now, there's a few reasons why I say that. And one reason is, let's say you're in the product-based business, right? And, you know, you have to mail out your products. And let's say somebody wants to return the product. Well, are you just not going to put your address or are you just going to have your home address? So let's say, oh, you're using your home address and they have to send it back there. Then now it's like, okay, this person knows where you live, which leads to my next point of safety concerns. Now, let's say you have a falling out with a customer. They're very upset. They feel like, oh, like you're not doing good business, or you kind of maybe they think they're not getting what they paid for, and they have like, like some people get really argumentative. Some people get really, kind of take things overboard. When you use your home address, because like when you file an entity, when you create one, they're going to ask for your business address. So if you're using your home address, that now becomes public knowledge because you can like that like the address of a business like that's not private. So if you're using your home address and that means they look up your business, they can find that, oh, okay, I'm just gonna I'm just gonna go there and I'm gonna solve my issue. Or, and do you want random people just coming to your house? Me personally, I I would assume you probably don't want random people coming to your house. So that's why I think it's important to have some sort of business address. So you can either have a physical address or a virtual address. Some people, might not be able to afford like to have like to buy like an actual building, or maybe they might not be able to afford like an office space. But if you can, great, because physical locations are honestly they're preferred when it comes to trying to get funding from banks and any lenders of that nature. They prefer a physical address. But if you can't get a physical address, you can also get a virtual address. So what are virtual addresses? So the virtual address company I use is Anytime Mailbox. And what virtual addresses are is it's an address attached to a physical building. Now, you don't own that building, but you're renting that address out. So for example, let's say like we'll use me for example. Like my address is in New Bedford, right? And that's not far from me. That's like a 15-20 minute drive. So whatever mail that I get from my company, like let's say like, some legal documents are getting sent to me, or, maybe like a business credit card offer, or a client wrote me a letter, because some people they write letters, or they're sending me documentation. It would go to that address and like I can just go pick it up. Or if I didn't want to go pick it up, I could get the mail forwarded to my address, so it'll just get sent to me. Having the virtual address gives you that flexibility because it's much, much cheaper. Like, especially Anytime Mailbox. Like, you can get addresses for, I've seen some for $5.99 a month. Like, for me personally, I pay $10.99 a month for that virtual address. So if you can't afford an actual office space, you can try using a virtual address. And again, it's just for appearances, because you don't want to put your home address, for the sake of you or your family. It's just better off to have something different. But again, as we get ready to close out this episode, all of from the professional email address to the professional phone number to the business address. These are all recommendations, but I recommend these because they're all write offs for your business. They're ordinary and necessary business expenses. So, why not have these things in place? You know, it just gives you a more professional image and you can write it off at the end of the year. And with that being said, remember how we started this episode and I gave you guys that quote from Future where he said, dress it up and make it real for me. The me in that I want you to visualize is the government. So what we just did is we went over some things for your business. And what we're doing is dressing up our business and making it look real to the government by their standards, because these are things that are going to make you look better and make you look more professional. I mean, again, your business is your business. You don't have to get a business email address. You don't have to get a phone number. You don't have to get a business address if you don't want to, because, I get it. Like, those things cost money, but it's an investment for your business. So that's why, too, if you look in the show notes at the end of this episode, I have a link for Google Workspace. If you use that link, you'll get a discount on your business email address. I also have a link for phone.com. So if you want to look into getting a business phone number, that'll be in the description, show notes. And also for Anytime Mailbox, there will be a link there for that if you want to look into it. Like I said, these are all recommendations. If you do use those links, as a disclaimer, I will receive a commission. Just to be transparent with you, like I'm not gonna, just try and just sell you stuff, but what I'm putting there is things that can be beneficial. But as for that, thank you again for joining me, and I will see you all on the next episode. Have a good one.